Hi everyone, and welcome to Creative Chelsea. Today I'm excited to share with you my September 2022 Artisan Design Team project. I was asked to use the Rustic Harvest suite of products. This group of products include the Hello Harvest bundle, which includes the Rustic pumpkin dies and the Hello Harvest stamp set, the leaf label and amber gem combo pack, some 12 by 12 basic black cardstock, and I'm going to share with you something really fun that you can create with that 12 by 12 size. And then the Rustic Harvest Designer Series paper. And this paper is a 12 pack. You get 2 of each of these patterns. So this is one side, and then the other side has black and white patterns on them. So it's really fun. You can use it for so many different occasions, not just autumn, Thanksgiving, fall time. So I know I'm a little late to share with you some fall, autumn, and Thanksgiving cards and decor ideas, but I was cleaning out my craft space and noticed I didn't share these with you. I especially want to share this fun gift bag idea that uses the 12 by 12 cardstock or designer series paper. These gift bags are so easy to make, fun to decorate, and would be so cute at your Thanksgiving Day table. You can also get the free template for this gift bag by clicking on the link in the top right corner or going to my blog creativechelsea.com, and you can find that link in the description below. Of course, I needed a cute little card to add inside the gift bag, or a card that I can send out to family and friends who may not live nearby. If you are new to my channel and want to see more of my videos, click on the subscribe button and then the bell for notifications. I would love to be your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and help you with any of your paper crafting needs. To purchase any of the products you see me use today, you can visit my online store, and the link is below in the description. So let's begin with the gift bag. Now I know because I'm using black cardstock, it might be a little hard for you to see. So make sure to check out that template that I am sharing with you. So I'll move that away so maybe you can see a little bit better. So I'm going to walk you through how to cut your cardstock down and then scoring it. And then we'll also talk about some quick tips to add the holes at the top and then how to put that together. So the first thing you're going to do is cut your 12 by 12 paper down to 6 3/4 inches by 11.5 inches. So this is a 12 by 12, so I'm going to first start by removing 1/2 inch. And then rotating it 6 3/4 is my final dimension. And so I've removed about 5 1/4 inches from that side. So we've got 11.5 by 6 3/4. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to score. So let's begin by scoring at the bottom here. So you can either do either the top or the bottom, doesn't really matter, but that's going to be your bottom, where the space that we score is going to be the bottom space. So I'm going to score it at 1 3/4. Make sure to use your scoring tool instead of your cutting blade. So 1 3/4 inches, and then I'm going to rotate that so it's at the bottom of my paper trimmer. So next we are going to score at 3.5 inches. And again, you can get all of this information from that template. And you just score from top to bottom. And then we'll score at 4.5 inches. And then we're going to score at 5.5 inches. And then we're going to bring it down and score at 9 inches, 10 inches, and 11 inches. So now we're going to fold along all the score lines and make a nice crease with your bone folder. So when you get to your sides, so where we've added those, you're going to fold the left and the right of your sides going the same direction to create that box feeling. And then you'll have this middle score line that you actually will fold away, and that makes just that inside crease. Okay, so you're creating kind of like a W. And then do the same on this side. So fold the left and right going the same direction, and then fold the inside going the opposite direction. Okay, so it's going to look something like that. So now you can start to see how our gift bag is coming together. I have a quick tip for you. So to make your bottom flaps nice and clean, you do want to create an opening. So normally just choose a distance. I'm going to do maybe like 1/8 of an inch or something, and you just cut right up to the top of that score line. So this is at the bottom section of our bag. So to make it go a little faster, we're going to now go to, so this is our front panel here. So you're going to fold along that edge, and you're going to just cut both sides at the same time up to that corner. So you can see how you get a nice cut there. If by chance it doesn't cut all the way to the top, you can just make a slit to the top of your bottom score line. So the middle score line you do not cut. So that's the one that goes in. So then come back to the edge. So this is going to be the back panel. Again, fold it and cut those two pieces at the same time. Okay. And then do it the same to the other side. So that just makes it go a little bit faster. And especially when you're working with that dark cardstock, it also helps you see where your score lines are. All right, so we've got all those sections now cut. This tiny one here is actually going to be removed. So you just come and cut at a slight angle so that that flap there comes off. Just like that, okay? So now we have a piece that looks like this. We're going to add some adhesive with some tear and tape to this edge here. This will connect our bag, and I just ran out of tear and tape. So normally I would go all the way down just like this, but this will work fine too. So then before we put everything together, we do need to also cut the holes for our handles. So I do have a little trick for you to do that. So if you fold the center of your side, then your front and back panels will meet, and you can cut or punch out those holes at the same time. So I've just got a hole punch here and just eyeball 2 holes that are about the same distance from the sides and the top. And then you have those in the same place. So that's another quick tip to making that bag go a little faster and easier to get those holes cut in the right place on both sides of the bag. All right, so now we just get to put this card together. So fold that flap with the adhesive down and remove your paper. And then you can fold your bag right over that flap so that it's nice and even. So now we're starting to see how that bag's coming together. And then you're going to take the sides and fold those down first and add some adhesive there. And you could use liquid adhesive or tear and tape, whatever you want. We'll just put some we'll just do the whole thing because I know that whole thing gets covered. And then add your next flap, and then add a little adhesive to the top flap there. And then you do want to make sure that it's nice and square. And then you can take a bone folder and press down on that adhesive to make sure everything sticks. I'm just going to do the same thing one more time on this second one so you can see how to put it together. So you're going to flip this over and then bring that side panel in that's going to have the adhesive on it. Then you're going to fold this right here in the middle. So you have a side and a front or back, and a side and a front or back. So right here in the middle, you're going to fold that, and that goes right over that edge there. So you really get this beautiful bag with no crease. You can't tell which is the front or the back, which is really nice. Then bring those side pieces in, add your adhesive, bring one of the other panels in. Looks like I need to cut this just a little bit better. There we go. So try that again. So the side panels and then the front panel. I have another spot that needs a little better, a little extra trim. There we go. And then this last one, little adhesive on the back or the inside. And then lay that down flat and use your bone folder, or if it's large enough for your hand, you can also add your hand in there. Make sure that it's nice and square. That's one nice thing about using liquid glue, is you can move it to make sure that everything is right where you want it. There we go. So now I've got these two cute gift bags that I can add to my Thanksgiving Day table, or I can give away to neighbors. And so we can now decorate those along with our cards. So from the Hello Harvest stamp set, I have used a lot of these images for my projects today. And I have stamped the pumpkin and then this grouping of flowers in Memento black ink. And then I'm just going to color them with my watercolor pencils from Stampin' Up. And I'm just going to share with you how I did these two images, and then you can take that same technique and apply it to the other images, and then we'll put the cards together. So I have the watercolor pencils from both the first and the second assortment packs. And so I'm going to be combining those together to color in my images today. So my pumpkin, of course, I am going to start with a base color of pumpkin pie. Now today I am not going to be adding any water to these watercolor pencils. I am using them more like regular colored pencils. They just have a very nice soft texture to them, and so they color really nicely as well as just having the ability to add water. So they're a very useful multi-purpose coloring tool. So when you're trying to get a nice smooth surface, you will want to color in multiple directions. And you also want to use a flat side of your colored pencil so that you don't get any strong marks. All right, so there's my first layer. And now we're just going to build up layers with some darker colors. So I have Cajun Craze, and I'm just going to add some shadows with this color. This color has more red to it. It's still a nice dark orangey color, but it does have red. So I like that. So I'm just going to kind of go around and add some darker colors in between each one of these sections, just to start to give it some depth to this image, as well as down near the bottom and near the top. So we've added a little darker color, given it some depth. I think I'm also going to go in with a little crushed curry. This has a yellow color to it, and just kind of highlight sections just to brighten up some areas. So you can add as much detail to this as you want. There's also Early Espresso, which is a nice brown color. And I'm going to go in here with a little bit of brown just to bump up some of that shadow to make it feel a little more three-dimensional and not so flat. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the stem. And I've got some nice dark old olive here that I'm going to add. Then I have this bright Granny Apple Green, and then maybe just a little bit of that Early Espresso down at the base. So let's move on to the flowers. I'm going to begin with a base color of Daffodil Delight for each of these petals, and then add a little depth to them with the crushed curry, just near the center of those petals. That really helps them start to pop. Then for the middle of the flowers, I'm going to add Cajun Craze, and I'm going to go a little heavy along the outside and then lighten it up in the center. Then we've got a couple other flowers I want to add color to. So we have these little dandelion balls of fluff, I think, and I want to add just a little bit of blue. So I'm just going to take my Pacific point and just very lightly circle around the center and come in with just a very light amount of blue there. And then this last flower I want to add are these little tulip looking flowers, and I'm going to do 3 of them. So I'm going to start with my cherry cobbler, and I'm going to add a little bit of like a shadow in each one of these sections. So there are 3 sections to 2 of the flowers, and then I added this little bud here, so that has 1 section. And then I'm going to take my Melon Mambo, which is a nice pink, and I'm going to fill in the rest with a lighter pink color. And I just think it's fun to add just a little touch of color outside of the normal oranges and yellows and browns. And then we have 2 colors of green that I'm going to use. The old olive goes on these sunflower leaves here. And then the Granny Apple Green goes on these longer leaves. Okay, so our bouquet of flowers is all done, and we now can cut out these images so that we can add them to our cards and our bag. So I'm going to use the Rustic pumpkin dies to cut those images out. So I have done some coloring and cutting for the other pieces that I'm going to need for my cards. So let's begin with the large card. We'll put that together first, and then we'll just move on to the other projects. So I've got a card base of Crumb Cake, and it's just your typical size, which is 8.5 by 5.5, and then scored at 4 1/4. And then I have a card front that is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. And I'm going to add some strips of the Designer Series paper to the card front, and then I'm going to emboss them all together. I'm just going to use a little liquid glue here. And you could use the color side or the black and white side. Whatever you want to do is great. I wanted to pull in just a little touch of color, and so I'm going to add this maybe a 1/2 inch. Let's do 3/4 of an inch from the side of this card front. And liquid glue is really nice here because you can kind of move things around and make sure they're going the right direction, and you can use your grid paper to help you make sure they're nice and straight. The next step is to add some texture to this card front with an embossing folder, and I'm using the Time Worn type. And I'm just going to add that right inside my embossing folder. And because this is the large size, I will need my regular Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Now on my original project, I added the strips of paper after I embossed the cardstock, but today I wanted to add it before and show you that fun technique. So let's see how that looks with the embossing on both the cardstock and the DSP. So it's just a very subtle look. So we can add this to the card base now. And I do like to use liquid adhesive when I'm adding things with texture. So that will just go right in the center. So then from the leftover black cardstock, I am going to cut a piece that is 2 3/4 inches by 4 1/4. And that's just going to go right in the center. It's going to look something like this. And then we're ready to add those stamped and colored images. So I'm going to start with my pumpkin. I'm going to add that near the left of center. And then I've got my 2 flowers. The first one, it kind of goes down on the left side. Make sure that you can still see a little bit of that black in the bottom corner. And then the second one goes up. Maybe bring it down just a little bit too. So something like that. And then we leave a nice space here for our greeting, which I will talk about in just a minute. There's a little bit of a trick that I want to share when you're trimming down your greetings. For this card, I have a card base that is 7 inches and scored at 3.5 inches, and then also cut to 3.5, so that I get a nice 3.5 inch square card base. So let me go over that again. So it's 3.5 inches by 7 inches and scored at 3.5 inches. And then I have 2 pieces here. I've got my designer series paper, and I'm using the black and white side. It's the side that has the pumpkins, and then the black and white angled striped side. And I'm going to, and that's cut to 3-inch square. And then I'm going to add it to a piece of crushed curry cardstock that is cut to 3 1/8 of an inch square. So I get a nice little border there. Smooth it out so that we don't get any bubbles from that liquid glue. And then I'm popping that on with some dimensionals. Just going to add that right to the center of this gift card here. Just like that. And then I am going to pull in some of this beautiful natural finish ribbon. It's nice and big, has this really nice effect. It gives our card a nice natural look. And I'm going to add it with a little bit of tear and tape right to the center. And I want it to come off of my card base just slightly. And I'm going to cut it straight. And then we'll fray those edges. Just pull a little bit to fray, and then you can trim off any of this extra piece that maybe you don't want. There we go. So that's just a really nice texture to add to your card. And then this card is really simple. We're just going to add one of these leaf labels, and I'm going to pop that up with some dimensionals as well. And place that at an angle in the center. And then we're going to add these 3 little flowers, and I've colored these exactly the same way I colored the yellow flowers in the grouping. And I'm going to add 2 of these near the top of the leaf label. And then I'm going to add my greeting right in between these flowers. So I'm going to add another one down here at the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to stop there for now, and we'll add that greeting. Again, I have a fun little trick that I want to share with you. All right, so let's move on to the bag. So like we mentioned before, there's really not a front or a back to your bag. It's just depending on how you want it to look. Let me pull in my sample here. So I'm using another piece of DSP here, and this is 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches. I'm just going to add that to the center of my gift bag. I want about even spacing on the left, right, and bottom sides. And then you can see here that I'm using another leaf label. And I'm going to share with you 2 ideas on how to use that hole. So this one, we are going to add with dimensionals. So I've got that label with dimensionals on the back, and I'm just going to add it near the top. It's going to, even though it's stuck, it's going to look like it's a tag. So do you see that? So we want it to look like it's slightly off skew. And then we've got our flowers that are just going to get tucked right underneath that. And that also has dimensionals on it. So let's go ahead and talk about our greetings. So the greetings I've stamped in Mossy Meadow. So I'm just going to go ahead and put those off to the side. So I've got my hello, and I'm going to stamp that onto some basic white cardstock and do my best to make it straight, but I am going to give you a tip on how to cut this down in case that maybe it's not straight or you want a little smaller label. So I've got a post-it note here, and the sticky side is on my left, and the flat, not sticky straight side is going to be near my cutting. And I'm going to identify how much of a border I want around my greeting. So I think I'm going to go with something that's maybe about 1/8 of an inch or so. And I'm going to stick that down so that this loose edge is about 1/8 of an inch away from my cut line. Then I'm going to take my greeting, and I'm lining up the bottom of my greeting to the edge of my post-it note, just like that. And then hold it down, and you can cut. And what that's going to do is it's going to cut you a border that is perfectly the distance that you identified with your paper, with your sticky note, right along that edge of that greeting. So then you can flip it around and do the same thing for the top. So just put it right up against that edge of your greeting and cut. Love that little trick, and it's super easy when you use a post-it note. And then you can identify, how much you want on the sides. I'm going to do about 3/8 of an inch on the sides. Trim that off, and then we're going to flag it as well. So to flag, you just find the center. Here, I'm going to remove this. I think is the center, and then you just cut a little slit at the bottom and a little slit at the top, and then you can take your paper snips and go from the corner to the top of that slit and repeat on the other side. And you have a label that fits your greeting perfectly. And I've done the exact same thing for the label for my card. So now we can add these to our bag and card. So I've got the hello on my bag, and I'm just going to add it at an angle, kind of following along with that leaf label there. And then for my card, I'm adding "You Are Such a Blessing," and it just goes down in this open area here. Just like that. So this is just a little crooked. There we go. I want to share with you this last tip about getting this fun shape with this label. So this is the stamp that I used. You can see that it is part of this banner, and the banner was just a little too big for my card, so I cut it down. So I want to share with you some tips I have for heat embossing on some black cardstock. So I always use an embossing buddy when I am heat embossing. It gives me a nice crisp image and keeps the powder from sticking to places I don't want it to. So I'm using Versamark ink with my stamp, and you get this sticky ink, and then you can take your powder. So this is the white embossing powder, and you lay that over the ink and it holds on to the powder. Tap off any excess, and then you can heat it up with your heat tool. All right, so you know that it is all done heating when that powder gets shiny and melts. It's such a wonderful technique. I just love it. So once it's cooled off, you are going to take a microfiber cloth and you can pick up all that embossing buddy. So you can see that we want that black to come back to its brilliant black dark color. So we need to remove this powder that we've added to it. And so just double check that it's cooled before you go for it. So you just use that towel to just pull off all of that powder. So now we're going to take our pair of paper snips, and if you look, we are going to trim the greeting out of the label. And so depending on, which way is easiest for you, you're just going to follow this line of the label and fussy cut the greeting out of it. So I know that's very interesting. I know a lot of people love the label, but to me it just felt a little big for this space. And then of course add some dimensionals to the back and then add that to your card. So cute. All right, so I mentioned that I'm going to share with you a couple ways to use that hole that's in the labels. So for this card, we really don't want to see that hole. So we're going to cover it up with one of these gems. So it's just really that simple. Take on one of the large gems and stick it right over the hole. And then you can take some of the other gems and just add them around, and your card is all done. Let's go to our second card. This one just needs some gems added. Again, take a large gem, one or two, and add them to your card. So anywhere that you want, just add those beautiful amber gems. And then our gift bag. So this one I've also added gems to, but I did not add it to the hole in the label. I wanted to share with you another quick way, and that is, of course, to just turn it into a cute tag that goes on your bag. So let's talk really quickly about that. Couple things. We're going to add some handles and then that string to make it look like that's the tag. So let's do the tag first. So you're just going to take a piece of linen thread, and I'm using about 6 inches, and add that into the hole there, and then just tie a knot by connecting the two ends together and then looping it around and tying them together with a knot. And then I really liked the idea of the knot showing, and so I moved it so that it was near that hole. I thought that was really cute. So the next thing is we need to make sure that that linen thread goes around our handles. So I'm just going to place my handle into the hole and make sure that that linen thread is connected there. So to do this, I have cut 12 inches of this same ribbon. This is the natural finish ribbon. You're going to pull them into your bag and then just loop so that you can create a knot here. And do the same on the other side. And you want to pull that knot as close to the end of the ribbon as you can so that you can use the majority of that ribbon for the handle. Just like that. Look how cute that is. And then of course, if you have too much there, you can always trim it down. And let's do the same thing for the other side. Then just add a little bit of tissue paper inside along with your gift and your cute little gift tag. And you are all ready for Thanksgiving. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me create these fun fall autumn themed projects. If you're interested in getting written instructions or seeing close-up images of how I created these projects, you can visit my blog, creativechelsea.com. Thanks so much for watching. Have a creative day. Bye.